Hello, dear subscribers. The harvesting of genetically modified wheat is happening now. Consider this image carefully. It looks like wheat. No, it looks like wheat, but it's GMO. A farmer in Oregon has found some genetically engineered wheat growing on his land. It's an unwelcome surprise because this type of wheat has never been approved for commercial planting. And indeed, I did a search through Google and it's never been approved actually. As always, the USDA says there's no risk to public health, but wheat exporters are worried about how their customers in Asia and Europe will react. In fact, they will not accept it. In fact, worry about export markets is the main reason why genetically engineered wheat isn't on the market in the first place. Interestingly, the biotech company Monsanto did create varieties of wheat that tolerate the wheat killer glyphosate or Roundup, just as it created Roundup ready corn, soybeans, cotton, and canola. It also carried out field trials of this wheat in 16 different states. But the country's wheat growers told the company that they did not want it because their clients do not want it. Now, our purpose here today is to examine carefully the parable of Matthew chapter 13, and we start reading at verse 24. So, this is the same scenario that we're going to read through. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So I must emphasize that word first in verse 30. Gather ye together first the tares. So the tares will be the first thing to be harvested and not the wheat. Now, it is estimated that since the beginning of 2021, at least 12 million humans, and still counting, have dropped asleep permanently after taking the administered dose of the abomination injection. And every single day, thousands are sleeping permanently. They're going to sleep permanently as the effects of the abomination injection continue to unravel. So effectively, there's a harvest. that's ripe. A harvest of souls is taking place right now. Consider carefully the tares as we read in Matthew chapter 13 are gathered first, as I already emphasized. What do you think happens to the genetically modified wheat? Do you think the owner of the field is happy with the GMO wheat, just as we read in the previous article of the farmer who had an unwelcome surprise? Same with the man, with the owner of the field in this parable. And that owner, you know who he is? It is the Lord Himself. So, what do you think happens to that GMO wheat? Do you think the owner of the field is happy with it? No. In fact, he will pluck it out along with the tares to be burnt. Because it says so in verse 30 that he will gather first the tares. And he will do likewise with the genetically modified wheat, which have now become as bad as tares. This is also echoed in Revelation chapter 14, verse 19. Actually, we need to back up a bit here because these verses in Revelation 14 are echoing, are describing the harvest that's happening now. The harvest of the tares. And the tares includes the genetically modified wheat. So in verse 14 of Revelation 14, we read, "And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat, like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Trust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Trust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. So that's another harvest of the grapes. So, but effectively, it's the tares that shall be harvested first. And this harvest is happening now. And only those who are wise can understand what's happening right now. As we read in Daniel chapter 12, verse 10, and it reads, Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. You, you, the elect across the earth, you are the ones who shall understand. But how many times have you tried to explain these matters to members of the family and close acquaintances, and now they won't even speak to you? They have isolated you, because the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. and the tares and the GMO wheat will be burned, as we read in Matthew chapter 13, verse 10. Hang on. It's verse 30. Let's explain this verse. Verse 30. Let both grow together. I'll back up just one single verse. Verse 29. But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Why did he tell them to let them grow side by side? And he was concerned that lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Because within families there are mixtures of both tares, including the GMO wheat and the wheat itself. If the separation had happened earlier, it could have had detrimental effects on the wheat itself. And also we read in Daniel chapter 12, verse 10, it says, and during the period of this harvest that's happening right now, many shall be purified, many shall be made white, and many shall be tried. Yes, we are under trial, we are being tried, because the separation from the tares and the wheat itself is a painful process for many of us. Now let's make our way to Matthew chapter 24, verses 39 to 41. As I was saying, the, the wheat, the elect, they will be tried through persecution because they refuse to take the mark of Revelation chapter 13, and they will be persecuted even by their own family, and they will be tried through starvation and through lack of commodities, and they will be tried through financial and possibly material losses as well, because the beast intends to put the elect in a corner, even to make it to make it to make them take the mark, to cause them to take the mark. Now in Matthew chapter 24, we read from verse 39. So I'll back up. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. So this is happening right now, these verses, when it says, two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, the other left. There shall be two in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Right now, there are two footballers that were playing in a football ground. One was taken and the other was left on earth. Two doctors were working in a hospital. One was taken, the other was left on earth. Two company directors were in charge. One was taken, the other was left on earth. And two pilots worked for this particular airline company. One was taken, the other was left on earth. Need I continue? Do you get the point? We have gotten the understanding of verses 40 and 41 of Matthew 24 the other way round. It's the tares that will be taken first. It's the tares and the genetically modified wheat will be harvested first. Therefore, the tares and the genetically modified wheat shall be the ones to be taken first. Do you understand? And then it goes on to say in Matthew chapter 24, verse 43, but notice that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Let's break that verse down. What house? What good man of the house is he referring to? What house is he referring to? That house is your body. That house is the temple of God. And you, your soul, is the good man that dwells inside that house. What thief is he referring to? The thief that broke into the house, into the temple of God, into your body. Who was that thief that broke into your body? Huh? It's the merchants of sorcery, of pharmakia, who have created this technology and they smuggled it inside the abomination. That is the thief. And those who weren't watching were caught unawares. The thief got inside. And because they weren't watching, the thief, which is the M and the R and the N and the A injection, it broke into their house. It entered into their cells and it got into the nucleus of the cells where the genetic material, DNA, is kept. That is what that verse is referring to. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Let's carry on, because this is interesting. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in verse 48, it speaks of the evil servant who says, my Lord delayeth his coming. That sounds very much like those who are saying that the current abomination injection is just a precursor. So they're saying, oh, it's yet to come, it's in the future. And they are definitely deceived. Likewise, those saying that the abomination can be purged or detoxed out of the body, That is a deception, whereby they are believing that the Lord delayed his coming. And notice the vast majority of the tares and the genetically modified wheat will sleep permanently because suicides will be the leading cause of sleeping permanently during the economic meltdown that is soon to come because they have placed their faith in earthly things. Another parable from Matthew chapter 7 this time. We go to verse 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And that rock is the rock of all ages. It is Jesus Christ, our Lord. Verse 26. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house. And it fell, and great was the fall of it. And this parable reminds me very much of the parable of the 10 virgins, the 5 wise and the 5 foolish virgins in Matthew chapter 25. Back to the rain, the heavy rains, which are mentioned in this parable. The heavy rains signify the great tribulation that is here on our doorstep, soon to begin, if it has not begun already. It is the parable of the wise and the foolish builders. And remember, the harvesting of the tares and the genetically modified wheat doesn't happen in one day. Various scientists, professors, and even Nobel Prize laureates have said that those receiving the abomination will have less than 5 years to live, even up to 3 years, some of them, due to a myriad of diseases, heart attacks, strokes, neurodegenerative brain disease, clotting of the blood, and many other serious diseases, immunocompromised systems, immunocompromised immune systems, and autoimmune diseases. They shall all contribute to these people sleeping permanently in the near future. All those who have received the abomination will have less than 5 years to live after receiving at least one dose of the abomination. And if they have received more than one dose, the faster they will sleep permanently. So, we read in Matthew chapter 24, rather chapter 13, that it's first the tares and the GMO wheat that will be gathered. Only after that the tares and the genetically modified wheat are gathered, then the wheat is gathered. Only then. Couple of more verses from Matthew chapter 24. And remember, verse 13, enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Meaning that when the mark of Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 to 18 was rolled out at the beginning of 2021, those who refused to take the abomination had to put their lives on hold. Many had to put their lives on hold. Many had to cancel traveling abroad. Athletes who didn't take the mark had to cancel competing in sports events. Students had to cancel entering into universities and to pursue their studies and other courses. Many of those who refused to take the abomination had to leave their jobs, even their careers, and many other plans of significant impact were affected. And I'm actually looking for the verses which describe what has happened in these past few months, that many of us had to cancel major plans in our lives. And verse 15 of Matthew chapter 24 describes this, because I often wondered what it meant. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. And as we read previously in Daniel chapter 12, verse 10, the wise shall understand. And the wise have come to understand that the abomination is that thing inside the syringe with the hypodermic needle, and once it is received, it renders the recipient of such an abomination desolate. And when you see that abomination of desolation stand in the holy place is your body, it's the temple of God, where it ought not to stand. We read in other translation, in other books of Matthew and Luke. Verse 16, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Many had to flee from their jobs. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Many had to cancel their traveling plans. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Our lives have taken a decidedly different turn. So let us get back to what we were just reading in the article. So this biotech company, you know that subsequently it was bought by Bayer, which is a major pharmaceutical company. And Bayer happens to be the same company which back in the day, you know, when in the Second World War, they were the ones who synthesized Agent Orange to be used to pollute the water in the Vietnam War. And they went on to say here, we are not in favor of commercializing any biotech trait unless it's gone through regulatory approvals in the US and in other countries. But nonetheless, the abomination went forth around the globe to genetically modify humans. Many countries, including some that import wheat from the US, are quite hostile to genetically engineered crops. Monsanto dropped the wheat project. It never asked for government approval, and it ended its field trials of wheat in 2005. Fast forward 8 years or more, because this article, I believe it's dated 2013. It says about a month ago, a farmer in eastern Oregon noticed some wheat plants growing where he didn't expect them, and they didn't die when he sprayed them with Roundup. And he subsequently confirmed that in fact they were genetically engineered crops that had spread beyond their approved boundaries. Nobody knows how this wheat got to this farm, but we know who is the enemy, don't we? It's the same enemy of the parable of the sower and the wheat and the tares. The enemy is Satan. And according to the USDA, as always, they say there's no danger to public health. It says in 2006, traces of genetically engineered rice, also unapproved, were discovered in large parts of the American rice harvest. That's bad, folks. That's very bad. You see, genetically modified food tends to affect one's fertility when it's eaten. Such is the case with genetically modified corn. We've seen, uh, a huge decline in human fertility, particularly male fertility. That discovery shut down America's rice exports to some countries. Exporters lost millions of dollars. The wheat harvest is much bigger. So I'm going to leave this here today. I want you to know that we are in the very last days. The harvesting of the tares and the genetically modified wheat has already begun, and it's happening, and it's expected to take a couple of years, at least 3, 4, 5 years. And as we read in the parable of Matthew chapter 13, it's the tares and the genetically modified wheat that shall be harvested first. I emphasize that word first. And it will be burned. If you haven't come to the Lord Jesus Christ, I believe now is the time to do so. You simply cannot afford to delay asking the Lord to come into your life. For it is written in Romans chapter 10, verse 13, "For whosoever calleth upon the name of the Lord shall be saved." Have a blessed day, all of you. And please share, like, and subscribe. And one last thing, this platform has been unsubscribing subscribers on a weekly basis. I keep noticing, I keep seeing the number of subscribers going down. This channel is heavily shadow banned. So if you have become unsubscribed, please subscribe again. God bless you all.